The woman is extremely domineering. Whenever she's in a bad mood, she insults her husband.
你这个男人没有用哦，一点出息没有哦，窝囊废哦。
To her, beating her husband twice every 3 days is as routine as eating dinner.
把我关到房间里面打2、3个小时，像一个比较卑贱的活着，还不如这样离了算了。
The husband, disheartened, helplessly states that such a life is utterly devoid of dignity.
我圈子里面呢，基本上能做到我的这样的，我认为也是非常少。有些男人应有的尊严，我一直放下。
Now that the husband has made up his mind to divorce, the woman is desperately begging him to stay. Even the mediator, who usually advises couples to stay together, is suggesting they separate.
其实我是不看好你们的婚姻的，我也不想劝你们2个人继续走下去。
2位真的要考虑一下，适不适合在一起。
Why would a woman who usually looks down on her husband now make such desperate pleas? Let's keep watching. On the screen, the sweet-looking woman and the honest, simple man are Ms. Li and Mr. Zhang. According to Mr. Zhang, his wife has a strong personality and a fiery temper. In daily life, he has always lived cautiously. He must constantly pay attention to her moods, because even the slightest misstep might make her lose her temper, which would lead to her yelling or even hitting him. Getting beaten twice every 3 days is just the norm. Mr. Zhang helplessly said he has already given up all the dignity a man should have. Yet even so, all his efforts still fail to gain his wife's approval. As Mr. Zhang tearfully recounted his tragic experiences, the sweet-looking Ms. Li coldly responded with 8 harsh words. He brought it on himself. He deserved it. So what exactly is this humiliating and cautious life Mr. Zhang speaks of? And why would Ms. Li say he deserved such a life?
就那天晚上我们准备休息了，睡前我就给他打好水放在床头，然后一上床准备睡觉了。然后他说他肚子饿了，我就去给他拿了个饼干，拿到床头，他一下就打得好远就开始骂爹骂娘，开始就是也没完没了。他骂都是怎么骂的？一般就是说你这个男人没有用哦，一点出息没有哦，窝囊废哦，我白养你哦，怎么样？养天不如狗，我瞎了狗眼哦，找到你这样的人等等这些，反正我当时认为就是，如果这种新华字典能找到形容一个渣男的一些词语，他肯定都用上了。
Mr. Zhang, with a gloomy expression, said that his wife's temper was beyond explosive. Whenever she felt the slightest bit unhappy, she would take it out on him. Like that night, when it was time for bed, he knew his wife had a habit of drinking water before sleeping, so he quickly poured her a glass and placed it on the bedside. But as soon as they lay down, she complained of being hungry. They had just eaten dinner not long before, but still, he rushed to bring her a cookie. Yet as soon as he handed it to her, she smacked it onto the floor, then unleashed a torrent of insults. Mr. Zhang described her verbal abuse, which left the mediator in shock. The mediator asked, "How could you endure your wife saying those things to you?" Mr. Zhang let out a deep sigh, filled with helplessness. "What can I do if I can't endure it? She's a few years younger than me, and she moved far from home to marry me. I love her, so I tolerate everything I can. Sometimes, when I truly can't take it, I'll talk back a little. But after each time I feel regret. I feel I shouldn't have made her feel wronged. She left her hometown for me, so I should treat her well. No matter how angry I am, I should endure it. And this isn't just a one-time thing. She's like this almost every day. I've already gotten used to it. But living like this, I really don't know when it will end." As Mr. Zhang described Ms. Li's violent temper with a face full of grievance, the host slowly turned to look at the sweet-looking, smiling Ms. Li, full of disbelief in her eyes. The host couldn't reconcile the image of a hot-tempered, violent wife, described by Mr. Zhang, with the gentle-looking woman in front of her. So she asked doubtfully,
他刚刚说的那些你骂他的话，几乎是字典里能翻到的或者你能够用到的所有的话，你都骂了一遍。
有说过，但是这是当场的气话。
我觉得就不是气话，因为他如果气话就偶尔说一次是吧？但是这个是长期都是这样说，挂在嘴边。
Those so-called angry words from Ms. Li were extremely harsh. Each sentence was like a blade, cutting deeply into Mr. Zhang's pride. Yet Mr. Zhang said for him, those verbal abuses weren't even the worst part. He said heavily, "What really terrifies me is her domestic violence."
这两个绑架有这么的牙圈一样，这包括这手上的这个就是剪刀捅的。
剪刀捅
啊，这脸上这都是剪刀捅的，这里还有这么远的看得到，这里黑的，他手上抓的到处都是的，抓痕都是很多了。
你先说说看，这剪刀捅的是怎么回事？
因为我真记不清了，真的因为成了家常便饭，所有的你让我记住到某一件事，我现在脑袋一片空。
Compared to her physical abuse, her verbal assaults seem trivial. Mr. Zhang, with a dark expression, showed the injuries on his body. Bite marks, scars on his hands and face that looked like they came from scissors, and scratches all over. He said helplessly, "I really don't remember exactly how I got these injuries, because her violent outbursts have become so frequent. It's hard to remember any single event specifically. My mind is just blank now." Mr. Zhang's face was full of pain and helplessness. It was heart-wrenching to witness what he had gone through. A home that should have been warm and safe was instead filled with violence and harm. These shocking scars testified to his suffering and struggle. It's hard to imagine how he managed to endure this every day. All of this, simply because of his wife's uncontrollable temper, is truly saddening. Yet just as Mr. Zhang was showing everyone his injuries, Ms. Li claimed that he deserved them all.
他是不好意思说出来的。
我没有什么不好意思。
那您说说看是怎么回事？
本身我们两个在争吵的时候啊，已经有很大的矛盾了，然后他还是去打牌，忍无可忍了，没办法再忍了，吵起来了，就打起来了，就这样子了。
你当时就拿起剪刀就扎下去了？
对。
你知道扎哪儿了吗？
我没想过，那时候我想的就是不是他死就是我死，反正当时也不知道是怎么想的，反正就是这样子了。
Ms. Li angrily said, "And he still dares to complain about being beaten? He brought it all on himself. I've completely lost hope in him. We have so many issues, and yet he doesn't even try to improve. All he does is play cards all day. He treats it like a job. He doesn't care about this family or my feelings. To me, he's a man with no sense of responsibility, no ambition. How can anyone respect a man like that? I've been patient again and again, and yet he only gets worse. This time I truly couldn't take it anymore. During the argument, I completely lost it. I didn't care about the consequences. I grabbed the scissors and stabbed him. I don't even know where I stabbed. I was out of control, completely overtaken by anger and despair. What right does he have to complain about getting hit? He caused all of this himself." Upon hearing that he got beaten because he played cards, Mr. Zhang quickly countered, "That incident had nothing to do with playing cards. The time I was beaten, she locked me in a room and beat me for 2 or 3 hours. The time she stabbed me with scissors was a completely separate event. I really don't even remember what triggered that one. I just remember we were arguing, and she started punching and kicking me. I was black and blue all over. Stuff like that happens all the time. I know I've made mistakes too, but that doesn't mean she can beat me like that. I'm still a man. I still have dignity."
他那2个小时这样打完你之后，你心里头你不觉得委屈吗？
我当时也是心里在想，过这样的日子还不如怎么讲呢？像一个比较卑贱的合作，还不如这样离了算了。当时一个是会有这样的念头，但是因为回头一想啊，家庭啊、小孩啊各方面的。
Mr. Zhang's account was truly shocking. Faced with his wife's domestic violence, his endless tolerance even made one of the mediating lawyers unable to stay silent. The lawyer said to Ms. Li, "Your violent behavior is absolutely unacceptable. Domestic violence in any form has no valid excuse. Many people blame it on losing control in the moment, but it can ultimately lead to tragedy. I've handled cases before, like one where the wife used a kitchen knife to provoke her husband repeatedly. After several taunts, the husband lost control and did something irreversible. Later the wife said, 'I was just joking. I just lost my temper. I didn't think he'd actually hurt me.' Your current situation is very dangerous as well. Even though Mr. Zhang has endured humiliation and pain all this time, every person has a limit. No one knows when his limit will be pushed too far, and once that happens, the consequences could be catastrophic. So you must learn to control your emotions and stop the domestic violence. We can't help but wonder, how could such a tolerant and forgiving man still be the target of so much dissatisfaction and rage from Ms. Li? Could it be that there's another side to him that we don't know? With an angry look, Ms. Li said with great contempt, "We've been married for 4 years now. And in these 4 years, the total time he's actually spent working adds up to less than 2 years. He constantly quits jobs after just 2 or 3 months. He has absolutely no stability. Look at other men his age. Some are successful in their careers, some are already running their own companies, some are even rich. And him? He doesn't even have enough money to buy groceries and has to take it from me. I work hard every day to keep this family going, and he contributes nothing. He has no ambition and just wastes time every day. He also lies constantly. I've lost count of how many times he's deceived me. For example, when he was working and earning money, the salary went to a bank account under his name. Even though the bank card was kept in my wallet, he still secretly withdrew 6,000 yuan. When I found the money missing and asked him about it, he claimed the bank system had a glitch. And I stupidly believed it. Later, he said he lent the money to a friend and used the excuse that he didn't tell me because he thought I'd say no. In the end, that 6,000 yuan just disappeared into thin air. And even with major things like childbirth, he could still lie.
我们生孩子的时候连钱都没有，他跟他姐借了1万块钱了生孩子，然后他又把那个钱又取了几千块钱，不知道取到哪里去了。生孩子都是人命关天的事，是吧？主人一直在他的就是说欺骗当中生活，真的。
Mr. Zhang does indeed have shortcomings. He doesn't earn much, he loves playing cards, and he often lies about money. While these issues can't justify Ms. Li's domestic violence, they do explain why a wife might feel disappointed and angry. However, Mr. Zhang didn't quite agree. He admitted that his work had been unstable over the years, but whenever he had a job, he handed over 5,000 to 6,000 yuan in salary every month to his wife. So he wasn't entirely financially dependent on her. Moreover, as a husband, he cared for and supported his wife in ways most men wouldn't. Mr. Zhang said, "I know I haven't done great in terms of making money, but I've been trying to contribute more at home. To be honest, my wife hardly ever cooks or does laundry. My workplace used to be far from home, about 20 kilometers away. I could only come back on weekends. Every Sunday, I'd cook 3 days' worth of meals for her. Then I'd come home again midweek to prepare the rest. I worked in manufacturing, which is exhausting. Sometimes even at 1 or 2 in the morning, I'd still be cooking for her. And her? Whenever I came home and said I was tired, she couldn't control her temper. She'd start yelling at me. I wanted to give more to this family, even if I didn't always do it well. I know I have many flaws, I don't make much, I play cards, I've lied about money. But I've also shown care and consideration for her. I've been trying to change. I truly hope to make our family better."
经济上对这个家庭可能他弱一些的话，那他对你的关心，他刚刚说的他做得很好，这一点能不能弥补一些呢？
要看他的心情好跟不好，他的心情不好的时候，随时什么都不做。
With a face full of grievance, Ms. Li said, "My usual work hours end at 11 p.m. every night. My job requires me to handle cash every day, so I get off work pretty late. And I often read online about people getting mugged in elevators or in neighborhoods. That stuff really scares me. So I asked him, can you call me every night to make sure I got home safely? But sometimes when I called him at 11 p.m. after work, he'd already be asleep. And he'd say impatiently, 'Ugh, I'm so tired, don't talk right now.' I can't help but think the worst. What if I really did get robbed? In that moment of danger, whether this man was in my life or not wouldn't have made much difference. His lack of concern for my safety, it really broke my heart." The host asked Mr. Zhang, "Can you understand how your wife feels? She wants you to call her every night to make sure she got home safely." Mr. Zhang said, I didn't do it every single day, but I did call sometimes. But if I missed one day, she'd assume I didn't care. The host asked again, "Do you worry about her safety? Have you ever expressed that concern to her?" Mr. Zhang looked uneasy and replied, "No, I haven't. I didn't know how to say it."
我在这上班的时候，我每次事业也好，还是工作累了回家也好，你从来没有说一句老公辛苦了，都说你没有能力啊，你为什么会辞职？别人像你这个年龄，要么是老总，要么事业有成，要么是做生意做得很大。
Mr. Zhang believed that despite his hard work, he never received any acknowledgement from Ms. Li. He said, "If my efforts don't earn her appreciation, if I'm that worthless in her eyes, then I give up. Let her go find her perfect man." However, Ms. Li thought differently. She believed that after 4 years together, they'd built deep feelings and even had a child. She hoped Mr. Zhang could tolerate her shortcomings and continue their life together. In the end, despite Ms. Li's tears and desperate pleas, Mr. Zhang still chose to say no. He said he had tried for too long, endured too much, and this marriage had never given him dignity or warmth. Now, he no longer wanted to gamble his future on someone else's change. Ms. Li broke down on the spot, tears streaming down her face, choking on her words as she said she had loved, she had given, she had just expressed it the wrong way. But this time, Mr. Zhang didn't turn back. On camera, she finally realized, some wounds, once they cut to the bone, even if stitched up, are hard to truly heal. Marriage has never been about one-sided tolerance and sacrifice. It's a dance of mutual respect, understanding, and responsibility. What do you think about their ending? Do you think Mr. Zhang should forgive her? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.